This is Cheryl Manley from Sharing Love of Paper. I'm so glad you could join me today. Today, as promised, I'll be sharing tips for handling heritage photos in family history scrapbooks. But just a heads up, it turns out there will be a part 3. There are too many fun photo tips to share in one video. Before I talk about heritage photos, though, I'll first share a couple of examples of pages made without any photos, because sometimes there just aren't any. Both of these pages are for children that were stillborn or died young. For both of them, I created a simple poem that stands in place of a photo, though it could instead simply have been information about the child. Okay, on to my discussion of heritage photos. It's my belief that it is a bad choice to add adhesive to heritage photos, or to cut them in any way. In the next video, you'll see some of the fixes I've had to make because ancestors had not conformed to these photo rules. If I'm making a modern-day album by printing up my digital photos, these can always be reprinted. But there's something special about original photos made long before our present-day photography methods, and I think they should be treated more carefully. Of course, it also goes without saying that you want to use acid-free and lignin-free products as you create your scrapbook. So most of this video shows tips and tricks for adding photos without getting adhesive on them and cropping photos without cutting them. Before I get to that, though, I want to just quickly mention a product I've found very useful. And no, I do not get any sort of advantage from the company for mentioning it. This is a product called Undo, which removes adhesive without damaging photos. I've used it quite successfully to remove labels or transparent tape that someone had put on some of these heritage photos, and to clean up photos that were put in those old magnetic albums that had adhesive pages to hold your photos that too often held them too well. Of course, I can't guarantee your results, but I have not yet had a problem where this product hurt my photos. I have not tried it on the thick cardboard type of old photos, and I'm not sure I would, but for regular glossy photos, it has worked well for me. So how do we add photos to our albums without adding adhesives to the photos? First, of course, are clear photo corners like we used for memorabilia in the last video. I've used them successfully for many types of photos, even those thick cardboard ones. They blend into the background so well. You can see them if you look for them, but unless you're looking for them, you don't usually notice them. You can add fancy mats and then use the clear photo corners so it looks like you glued your photos to a mat. You can even decorate the photo corners. Here I used some decorative flat corners that I got in a kit of some kind, and I added them by just gluing them to the clear photo corners after the photo was mounted. One of the trickiest things you can do with clear photo corners is to create frames, and then use the photo corners on the back of them to hold your photos in place. This neat trick allows for the use of pre-made frames like these here that I got in a scrapbooking kit. Here I actually had other photo corners that I used, but clear ones would have worked. Since you don't see the photo corners from the front, you can use any that you like. You're just putting the photos in the photo corners with the adhesive side up instead of down and laying the frame on top. Wait a minute, I had another example with an oval frame. Oh yes, here it is. You could make that frame if you had a wide body die cut machine by die cutting an oval from the center of a rectangle. In this case, I purchased the frame. Similarly here, you could use a piece of patterned paper and die cut an oval from it to create your own frame. Thinking about using oval dies got me thinking about other dies I might use. This looks like I've got narrow frames on here, but it actually was made in 2 parts. I first cut these decorative oval shapes from a piece of cream-colored paper. Then, using the striped paper, I cut them again using slightly larger dies. That gives the look of a frame, without the hassle of gluing narrow frames like that, and allowed for matting the piece of patterned paper besides. Notice that I cut paper pieces that were 6 inches wide or less, so they would fit through a standard die cutting machine. I did cut a wider frame from brown, using a larger die with the one used to cut the striped paper. This helped call out this photo as focal point. Using dies like this helps keep the album from getting too boring, but I haven't cut the photos or added adhesive to them. Then I started looking at making my own photo corners. I did this in one of two ways. The first is really easy. Start with a strip of paper. This one is 1/2 inch wide, but you can vary the width. Start by folding it so the end of the strip lines up with the lower edge, giving you a clean 45-degree angle. Then simply fold the other side just to meet this edge. Tape it in place, trim off the excess, and you have a photo corner. You can make that out of any color, any paper, so you can start to color coordinate with your scrapbook page. If you're fortunate, you can find a punch that makes photo corners. Just be sure you know what you're getting. When I search for photo corner punch, most of what shows up is just corner rounders or punches that create decorative corners on your photos. That is not what I'm talking about. This is an old one from Marvi Uchida, and it punches a piece that looks like this. You just fold it along the scored lines, tape the ends together, and you've got a decorative photo corner. I found a couple of punches that make photo corners on Amazon from Craftelier. I'll try to remember to link them below. I haven't tried these, and I certainly get no commission on them. I'm just sharing the information for those interested. On this page, you can see that I punched these out of white and then used them to hold the photos. I even used one corner as a place for a tiny bit of journaling. Here's the companion page, again with those white corners. Here's one with a thicker photo board photo being held by handmade photo corners. Note the penwork along the edges that adds a decorative touch. On this one, I've got the same type of penwork, but this time the photo corners were made from scraps of the same paper by gutting a piece from behind the photo where it wouldn't be seen. Here I have a picture where the picture itself was put behind a frame with clear photo corners. Then I added a couple of corners to the frame for decoration. They're not used to hold the frame itself. I just used glue on the corners of the frame where it wouldn't touch the photos for that. They're simply decorative here. Now for another option that I love. That involves using these special punches. I don't think they're being made any longer, but I've seen several of them on sites like Etsy. The punches I got came with this plastic guard. It can be pulled off so you can punch anywhere along the edge of a paper, but this guard helps you align it carefully in the corner every time. This is what you get with this one. Here I punched 4 corners on this mat so it could hold the photo. Then you can glue the mat to the page to hold the photo without adhesive on the photo. You need to measure each punch, but this makes photo slits that start 1/4 inch from the edge. So you simply cut a mat that is 1/2 inch wider and longer than your photo. So if my photo is 2.5 by 3, I would cut my mat 3 by 3.5, punch it in each corner with this punch, and then I can slip my photo in. There. I have several different styles of this type of punch. This one makes heart shapes. There's this one I just showed you. There's this kind, that kind, and that kind. This one just cuts 2 slits. And this one cuts a partial circle. I'll show you several examples of using each of these. Be careful when you look for these. These were called corner adorners from EK Success, but not all corner adorners are created equal. Some of them are designed to simply punch a decorative corner in your photo or cardstock instead of cutting fancy slits that your corner can slip into. So do be careful when choosing your punches. Anyway, I've used many mats with these corner adorners in my album. You'll see them here and here. Here I've used 2 of them, this kind and this kind. Here I've used a double mat, which I think makes a great option. I just cut my first mat 1/2 inch wider and 1/2 inch longer than my photo. Then I cut a second mat that was 1/2 inch wider and 1/2 inch longer than the first mat. Then I simply punched the corners, put the photo into the first mat, and then the matted photo into the second before adding it to my page. Another thing I did was to take a pen and draw around. It's the same punch, but looks a bit different because I've added the pen work. This one, oh, the picture is partially out on this one. I won't take the time to fix it right now. Remember, with these, you can glue the mat to your page and your photo stays with the mat. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to point out about this one is that this punches a little corner from the shape that can then be used to add decorations to the page. Here's the heart shape, great for anniversary and wedding photos. Here's one of those that has the two slits. You can see what that looks like. Here I also used some of my own handmade corners, and here again I've done a double mat. This is a different shape. This one, very pretty. Here's another one where I've used this and then used the punch outs to add decorations. Even though these two photos are the same size, it does help the people are a little larger here than in there, but by matting this one on the larger white mat, adding the decorative corners to it, and placing the photo at a jaunty angle, the eye is clearly drawn to this photo as the focal. Here's the companion page, again decorating with the punched out pieces. Here's a page where I used clear photo corners here, handmade corners here, and corner adorners there, so 3 different ways on the same page. I love doing multiple mats, especially for the focal. Here, these photos have people taking up more space in the photo than in the one here, and though the baby was slightly larger than in the other pictures, there was a bit of a fight for focal until I added multiple mats for this one. It draws the attention right there and you have a clear focal. This is that little circular one. I wanted to show you how I took a relatively small photo and turned it into a major statement on this page by adding multiple mats. Some of you might recognize how I did these edges. I used a Martha Stewart punch around the page set of punches. They're a set of 2 punches, one that does the border and one that does the corner. I don't think these are being made anymore either, but I saw quite a few on sites like eBay. Well, I have enough more tips and tricks that I better stop now and save the rest for a 3rd video. I hope you've enjoyed this one and will choose me, Cheryl Manley, as your demonstrator when you purchase any Stampin' Up! Products. It won't cost you any extra and I'll get a small commission to help support my channel. If you click that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, you'll make my day. Thanks and have a great one.